Ladies and gentlemen, the concept we are presenting to you today is worth gold, or more precisely, millions of euros. Or what do you think? What an amount of a fee would a firm of consultants charge to the federal government for a plan that eliminates poverty and unemployment from one day to the next, so that the Treasury saves billions of taxpayers' money? But don't worry, you will learn here for free how the society as a whole and every individual member on its own can overcome the burden of poverty and unemployment. Let us put the essential first. Poverty and unemployment are not inevitable natural catastrophes which, as a result of force majeure, beset innocent people like a plague. They are the result of our egotism, of an unjust system created by ourselves. All we have to do to eliminate them is to enforce justice. There is work in abundance. If we distribute justly the necessary work, there will be more than enough to do for everyone. The planet is rich enough. If we distribute justly the proceeds of our collective work, there will be more than enough wealth for everyone. Imagine the village of Tabenisi as a settlement similar to an Israeli kibbutz, where some 40 or 50 families are living and working together. The principles according to which we overcome poverty and unemployment are the same in a village, a city, or a whole country. Unemployment is a grotesque notion. Everywhere around us we see a boundless abundance of hardship, suffering, dirt, and imperfection. These grievances can be overcome by nothing else but work. A state of the community in which work is no longer necessary is not conceivable at all. A day on which there was nothing to do has not yet been seen in Tabenisi. On the contrary, there's not less, but more urgent work to do than we have workers, time and strength at our disposal. A society in which there are, on the one hand, a huge amount of necessary work, and on the other hand, millions of unemployed or underemployed, is very poorly organized indeed. The key to a new construction is the concept of community. The people living in a country, a city, or a village should not regard themselves as a band of robbers in which the law of the jungle, the right of the strongest prevails, but as a real community in which justice rules. In a society in which everyone struggles against everyone, and in which every member is trying to grab as much as possible for himself, to the detriment of the others. Applied ethics can at best mitigate the worst excesses, but cannot solve the problems at the root. In a true community, family, association, brotherhood, order, kibbutz, monastery, there is no poverty and no unemployment. Why? Because in a real community, both the work required and the income arising from it are shared justly. Everyone makes a fair contribution and receives a just share. Let us now look at how this concept works in practice. There are no unemployed people in Tabenisi because we distribute the work which is necessary in our community justly amongst all members. If we share the burden, there can be no unemployment because there is no shortage of work. How does that work in practice? In the morning, the inhabitants of Tabenisi meet in the village square. The work of the day is allocated, for example, harvesting fruits and vegetables, milking cows, cultivating fields and beds, producing goods, teaching the children, nursing the old, curing the sick, repairing machines or homes, prepare food, and so on and so forth. There is a task for everyone. On some days there is more to do, on others less. Accordingly, the work to be performed by the members of the community is sometimes more, sometimes less extensive. But nobody goes away empty-handed. Something needs to be done every day. In our community, everyone who is able to work has a right to work. An existence without useful work is unworthy of man. No one must be excluded from the life of the community, which consists, first of all, of work for the improvement of the living conditions. The persons in charge have to make sure that everyone in his place, according to his abilities, can make his contribution to the common good. A system like that of the old world, which does not ensure the realization of this basic human right, fails. In addition, in order to alleviate the general distress, we literally need every hand. Not to exploit the capacity for work, especially of the young people, or of the old, who are normally shuffled off to retirement homes, is a humiliation of those affected, a waste of resources, and a neglect of potential, which we simply cannot afford in view of the gigantic tasks. From the abundance of tasks follows, everyone who can work has a duty to make his contribution to the accomplishment of the work that is necessary in our community every single day. It is unethical to do nothing, although one can work. Necessary work would then remain undone, or must be taken care of by others in addition to their own duties, to which the idler then imposes himself as a burden with his claim for securing his livelihood. Everyone has to contribute according to his abilities. Otherwise, he places himself outside the community. This does not necessarily mean that all must carry the same workload. Everyone can contribute only according to his faculties. Both overwork and underemployment must be avoided. The normal duty in Tabenisi is 8 hours of work on 5 days a week. An unconditional basic income that leaves it to the pleasure of the individual whether and what he contributes is a misguided concept. He who does only that what he is fond of and refuses to do his part in order to cope with the necessary work forfeits his claim to participate in the prosperity of the community. Only co-workers are entitled to a share of the collectively earned income. Just imagine, someone is sitting with us at the dining table. He asks for food, but he is not prepared to participate in its procurement or preparation. Over and above all, he is not even willing to help with the washing up, but prefers to go back to his room to play the guitar, and thus leaves the dirty work to us. Inconceivable. This is, in truth, crudest egotism, which will never be tolerated in any true community. No community can be so stupid as to support someone who makes the others work for him by refusing to participate in the necessary work. No one must exclude himself. For example, if there is, at the moment, no legal work at hand for the lawyer of the community, he must not be afraid to work elsewhere. For example, if necessary, even to sweep the village square. It is simply unimaginable in our community that he puts his hands in his lap and does nothing, so that necessary work remains undone or must be carried out by others in addition to their own tasks. The usual concept of unacceptable work is, in truth, completely absurd. How can a task that is necessary in the community be unacceptable? He who does not find any other activity must not be afraid to do away with the garbage, which, after all, has to be removed by someone. It is better to do simple work and to make one small contribution than to do nothing at all. Through its work, our community creates prosperity, namely products that we use for our own needs or sell to others. This wealth is to be distributed justly amongst all members. When prosperity grows, all receive greater shares. When it diminishes, all must retrench. If we share fairly what we have earned collectively, then there can be no poverty. Here, too, justice does not necessarily mean that all must receive the same amount. A higher qualification or a larger contribution might be rewarded with a larger share. Or a family father who has to support wife and children might be allocated more than a single person. Justice, however, requires one thing. We must also allow those who are only able to make a smaller contribution the full participation in the life of the community. If all of us together create a culture of high prosperity, we cannot leave the so-called simple co-workers in a state of material need. Therefore, in Tabenisi, there is a basic salary for all co-workers, which allows a dignified human life. It is only when this is ensured that we consider to grant additional allowances to individual overperformers. Decisions are being made solely on the basis of the principle of justice. Battles over distribution, like in the jungle, unworthy games of muscles, the enforcement of selfish interests by violent means, such as strikes or lockouts, are out of place in a civilized community.